Hi, my name is Arturo, and I'm the oldest son. My dad was never officially adopted as we know an adoption to be. He was mainly taken in by the Sandoval's.
Okay. Can you tell what you know of the story?
Well, as far as I know, my dad must have got lost. Maybe the age between 6 and 7, give or take. As far as I know, he was sleeping in a mercado in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and he must have slept in this little section of the mercado for a couple of nights when a man by the name of Merced Sandoval found him. He must have seen him sleeping, in the little section of, the little stand, and I don't know how many nights he was sleeping there for, as a fact, but he must have seen him for at least for a couple of nights. Like my dad said one time that he slept there for a couple of nights, and Merced Sandoval, this man, asked him his name and asked him if he was hungry. And what he was, and what he was doing there. At the end of the day, when the first contact was made, my dad was taken by Merced to his house. He went to the house and he told Merced's, he told the wife of what he had found in his stand and his puesto right there in the mercado. Anyway, so that was the first time that he went to to that house and he stood and he slept under a roof. The next morning and the mornings after that, Merced's wife would go to the mercado and they would ask people around to see if they recognized my dad, if they recognized who their parents were, if they knew about the little boy that Merced Sandoval had found days earlier. If nothing happened, there was no lack of trying to find out who my dad was or who did he belong to. Eventually, the Sandoval family moved back to Jalpa, Zacatecas. I mean, that's practically 100 miles away from there. And to a little kid, it's practically a planet away. Everything that I know, I have always known it ever since I was a little kid. Not exactly who said what, but we all knew that my dad didn't have no family. He was just that he was taken in by the Sandovals. Well, I really believe that my dad was homeless all his life. I think he was homeless all the way until he got married, and he had us. Once he got married and I was born and the rest of my brothers and sisters were born, then he was no longer homeless or adopted.
Since you have known that he was adopted, does that make you question who you are?
Not really. I know that I am Arturo and I'm Luis' son, and that's all it matters to us. It questions me. Well, I question his upbringing, meaning how hard was, how he was raised. He would say that, he used to tell me that when he moved in with, Merced Sandoval and the family, the Sandoval family, that things were good at the beginning. Eventually, Merced passed away, and from that point on, it was hard on him. Everything was hard because the lady remarried, and he was an outsider. I question. It's not so much question, but it makes me wonder how hard his life was at that time. He never really discussed bad situations. A lot of times he would just keep it to a minimum. I don't know how come, but it makes me wonder at times that being a stranger in someone else's house for years at a time. And sometimes kids are very cruel, they're mean, they're bad. How did I just wonder, did anybody make him feel out of hand, out of place? I'm pretty sure someone did eventually, because he just didn't belong in that house. He didn't belong, with anybody. He was just arrimado, just taken in.
Will you want to find his birth family?
It will be nice, but I think it will be impossible. For many years, he will say that he tried looking for his, he was searching for his real birth certificate because he never had one, the real one. He tried Guadalajara, he tried different places, different cities throughout throughout Mexico, hoping that someone would recognize him, hoping that that he'll be lucky, or the little things that he would remember. But he was never able to get a true birth certificate, his real birth certificate. Eventually, one was made up by the authorities, by the government, but it would be nice to find out who his parents were, but I think it was just impossible to find out who they were. It hasn't affected me. Again, I know that he worked all his life. I know that he will say to me that when he was younger, he'll follow work to be able to eat. He will say something in Spanish saying, yo seguía el trabajo para poder comer. I know that he will stay for months out. He worked in the Presa del Chique. He worked in many faraway places. Wherever he could find jobs, he would go to work. And I know that if anything else, it makes me think that from his side, he was the beginning of my life. Meaning, from his side, I don't have no relatives. I don't have no uncles. We don't have anybody else. Me and my brothers and sisters. All we have from his from his side is himself. So our world began with him. Literally began with him, because there's no uncles, there's no bloodline, behind that.